women entrepreneurs worldwide only get 2 to 3%, imagine, of investment worldwide. I'm looking for a warehouse, I'm hiring a team. So it took like a few months' time, and then war happened.
It shows to our audience how, it's an ups and downs, kind of journey, building this type of venture.
Living in a fast-paced world, you tend to lose yourself, you tend to lose who you are. We thought we will be able to change people's perspective when it comes to waste. We started to work more on awareness.
Thank you so much for being so open and honest on this episode. Welcome back to Impact Talk, the podcast redefining success in business. Today, I'm thrilled to be joined by Nivine Hachem, co-founder and CEO of Paltic, a Lebanon-based social enterprise tackling plastic waste in the MENA region through sustainable innovation. Recently recognized as the most innovative climate tech CEO of 2024, Nivine is a true advocate for sustainability. Through education, advocacy, and impactful business solutions, she is inspiring a shift towards a more sustainable future. Nivine, welcome to Impact Talk.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
So, when I was preparing this episode, I looked at your personal journey and I was very impressed by the shift you made, because you had a very successful corporate career, and suddenly, you made the shift to social enterprise. And I think there was like a pivotal moment in this journey, a volunteering trip to Ghana. So I want to ask you, can you take us back to that moment and what inspired you to take the leap?
So first of all, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for that. So how my journey actually started is, being part of the corporate life, I've gained a lot of skills, and it was a learning experience over around 10 years, basically in auditing and finance. And there is this point where I actually reached is I wanted to do something more towards the community, to give back, because I've always been involved in volunteering ever since I was young. But once you're involved in corporate, you start losing this part because you don't have the time, since you have to focus on your career and what you're building on. So I reached a point close to mid-2018 where I just wanted to do something different, and specifically for myself. And this is when I started to look for volunteering projects abroad in Africa. And I came across this project in Africa in a very rural area, and it was focusing on renovation. So when we talk about renovation, it's all about practical work, like it's your movement, your body. So I just wanted something to stay away from thinking. It's just doing something with your hands. So I signed up for this program. It was renovating one of the schools in Ghana. And I signed up for almost 10 days. So I go there, and that's exactly where I meet Hala, my business partner. So she's actually also Lebanese.
So you didn't know her before?
No. I didn't know her. I've never met her before, but what seemed like we were on the same project together. So you had a lot of multinationals, if you want, coming from Belgium, from Australia. We were the only Arabs from Lebanon. So it was quite diverse and interesting. And that's how I actually met her. And we started to think, okay, we love this project that we're working on. What can we do something differently to our country? Since Lebanon, back then, it started to face some challenges, and we wanted to give back. So I go back to Lebanon. Hala was living in Jeddah back then. So she goes back to Saudi, and we stayed in contact, and we started to question, we loved what we did. It was very interesting. We want to do something. And that's when there was this aha moment, when purpose came to mind. What can we do something with purpose to our community, to our world? And we started doing a lot of research, because she's also an interior architect. So she was part in the corporate as well. And we looked for different programs, and we came across another program in Africa, since we had something like Africa shows you I mean, the simplicity of the life there shows you a different perspective on life. And this really got to us because just living in a fast-paced world, you tend to lose yourself. You tend to lose who you are because you're just going by what society tells you to be. So we decided to go back to Africa. We found a program for 3 months teaching us about NGO management, community work, and
You were still working at that time?
We were still working at the time, and we were still doing the research. And this program, it involved community work. So it shows you a broad perspective on working with kids, so very young kids, working with adults, teaching them English. And then you have the environmental conservation project. And I was like, okay, this is perfect because we will be able to see the broader perspective of the different projects, and we'll get to choose where to head. So we signed up for this program, and then we had to be full-time on it. So I was like, it's time to quit. And Hala was like, are you sure? And I'm like, yes, we have to do it. So I take the leap before Hala did. I resigned from my job closer to end of 2018, and then she followed the same.
So before joining the program?
Before joining the program, it was a full-time.
You quit your job?
We quit our job.
Without any plan?
Without anything. So we just had our financial savings, if you want, on the side. And this is what we were actually hoping for it to build in the coming future. So I was telling her, it's a leap of faith that we're taking. And it's something good that we're doing for the community. So, I mean, we will get there, but we just need to figure out our steps. So end of 2018, I resign, Hala resigns, and she joins me on board beginning 2019. February, we travel to Tanzania. So it's in Zanzibar. We stay there up until May. And throughout these 3 months, we were exposed to all the different projects. But the one project that struck to mind was the environmental conservation, because we were involved in beach cleanups. We were involved in something that's called eco-bricking. And it's a new technique that we never knew about, of how they can actually work with waste to build. And like, this was another aha moment that, okay, waste is something that's spread worldwide. We have this problem in Lebanon since 2015 with waste. So if we can do something similar in our country, it would be ideal. And once we're there again, we started to do a lot of research, a lot of reading on waste. What can we do differently? And we moved back to Lebanon closer to end of May, and we just start working on our own machines. So we started building our own machines, and like the journey of plastic waste and recycling started from there.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's very brave, Nivine. I mean, to not have, any like precise idea of, what's going to be the next, step or venture, and really like taking the leap of faith and saying like, I'm going to go open myself, and learn and see what's going to come out of it. It's very, very impressive.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. It hasn't been an easy journey, I tell you for sure.
I can imagine.
Because I mean, this was only part of the beginning, and then everything else followed afterwards.
And we're gonna dive into that.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm just keeping some space for that.
Awesome. So coming back to Paltic, your venture. So you produced recycled plastic panels as an alternative material for designers and architects. Very interesting idea. And can you tell us more about it? And especially, how has the market in the region responded to this innovation?
Of course. So I will just show you a sample of how we started initially, because it was also a learning for us. We started on a very small scale because we were testing with plastics, and we built our own machines and everything. So we started with building small accessories that are made from plastics. So these are coasters, phone holders, small bowls that are 3D printed as well. And this for us was the learning, and we were targeting directly to consumers because we thought that we will be able to play on this mindset. They will be able to see something different, something that's attractive, and it's yet made from recycled plastic. So when we talk about plastics, we're
100%
talking
100% recycled plastic?
100%. So they're consumer plastics, just as the water bottle caps, for example, or the shampoo, the detergent bottle. So these are plastics that we use in everyday life that we usually just dispose, but we're able to convert them. This journey was not easy because I mean, when we think BTC and this business aspect started to get involved, you need mass production. And for us, we were still working with small machines and we couldn't like keep up with this trend. And BTC is quite difficult, so it needs a specific way to function. And then like along the way, after a year of that, we were like, okay, let's go bigger because we love what we're doing. We love the process. Like we found this passion into it, and especially Hala, as being an interior architect, she started to think of design prospects. Like if we go bigger, we'll be able to use it on bigger scale projects in terms of residential or commercial buildings. And this is how we move to the second part. So I will also show samples just for people to visualize. And here now, this is what we're talking when we talk about panels. So they can be used for furniture manufacturing. So you can use them to build chairs, countertops, tables. It can be used as wall cladding as well in buildings and spaces. And this is how we went from the small scale into the bigger scale. And here we're actually targeting, you can say, like designers, architects, and product designers for them to utilize this. Now, unfortunately, we did face a lot of challenges because it was this play on sustainability. Because when we launched Paltic initially in the market was mid of 2021. So this was still a completely new concept in our region. Like when we talk about sustainability, sustainable material, and it was very difficult to penetrate. And but what we worked on here, we started to work more on awareness. So we started to give workshops just to show people that this is what we offer, but at the same time, this is what we're doing when it comes to the environmental and the social aspect.
Amazing, because and it shows how you pivot also, throughout through the journey from products, to consumers, to using it as a material for interior designers. And how was the reaction of, especially your target interior designers, architects, when you go and pitch to them and say, hey, you know what, instead of terrazzo or marble, let's use plastic.
Yeah. So at the beginning, if I can say back in 2021, it was very difficult because for them, like, exactly, I'm using plastic and plastic is their
It's not
like
luxury.
it's not luxury. Exactly, it's not a luxury item. It's an everyday item between like what people use, and we're like, no, this is a sustainable material. We don't like to use like plastic anymore because we thought it's giving it a negative connotation. So we started to use it as it's a sustainable material. It's going to replace the marble, the terrazzo. So we just had to play on the words as a start until I can say 2 years after that, people have become more aware. So at the beginning, we faced all types of challenges, especially with this mindset that it's plastic. And I was like we're investing and you're doing this project and it's going to make a lot of change, but people tend to see it differently. But now, ever since last year, since we've been back at it, people have changed this mindset and they're actually looking for such a material. So we're getting calls that, okay, we heard that you're working with plastic and sustainable material. We want to know more. So it's become an easier process with time.
Yeah, so awareness and the whole, shift happening in the region.
Exactly.
The vision towards sustainability, all of that, obviously,
exactly.
is helping you.
Exactly.
What I like about your material, because I was, scrolling on your website, is the aesthetic. Mm-hmm. Because there is something that sometimes annoys me when you look at, sustainable solutions. It's like, okay, we're going to go for this alternative option, but we need to compromise aesthetic and, look, feeling, all of that. And I think when you manage to plug the two together, still, bring something that is sustainable, eco-friendly, not damaging the environment, and also, the way you produce it with, people and how you treat them with the aesthetic. And the design, I think this is like an amazing, match.
Yeah, I guess here when it comes to the aesthetic part, it's the first thing that we looked at, because I mean, this is how we thought we will be able to change people's perspective when it comes to waste. Because when you tell people waste, the first thing they would think of is everything that they throw away throughout their day. And for us, we're like, no, 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 we want to change this and shift this complete mindset for people to really see that out of what they think is waste, something better and something beautiful and more aesthetic can be generated out of it. So the aesthetic part, and here maybe it takes more in time in terms of the manufacturing process and the design process for us, but we work on sustaining it, because I mean, we know for the different projects that are implemented, especially in big commercial and residential spaces, they look at this part. And because we want them to integrate the material, we're actually, even with the current designs that we have, we're shifting it just for it to be able to fit in the market. So for example, when we talk about the UAE, the UAE is looking for plain colors. This is what we learned over the past year. So they're looking for white, for beigey colors, maybe like the basic ones, some white and black. And this is what we're going to start integrating, because they look for luxurious projects. This is what we want to fit in.
And you adapt to the market needs.
And you have to adapt to the market, exactly. Because, for example, the more colorful ones will work for schools, will work for kids' play area, something that's actually fun. And the other plain colors and the more steady, or like the basic ones, will fit for bigger projects. Yeah.
You brought up the UAE because Paltic was born in Lebanon, and all the panels were manufactured in Lebanon. But things are slowly shifting. To the UAE? Can you tell us more about that?
As I said, like Lebanon, Paltic did start in Lebanon, and this was our target from the very beginning, because we wanted to create an impact and a difference in our country, because it's a part of us, it's a part of our identity. But unfortunately, we faced a lot of challenges ever since we started back in 2019, with the different economical, social, political challenges that we've been going through. And it even caused us to reach a point where end of 2022, after being 2 years in the market, we had to pause completely, because we were self-funded. So we weren't able to get any investors on board back then because of the political situation.
Because you were based in Lebanon.
Because we were based in Lebanon, and they're like, oh, we're sorry, we can't invest in Lebanon, not at this time. And because we were self-funded the entire time, we reached a point where I was like, okay, Hala, listen, we're financially bleeding. We've put everything into the company, and we're proud of it. But we need to take a mindful decision that we need to stop. So for us to really reach this point, it took a lot, because as a co-founder, you're hustling and you believe in what you're doing and you're just running around. But I mean, we were consumed, and even throughout these 2 years, we were always coming back to the UAE. So we did Dubai Design Week in 2021 in the UAE. We did the Big Five also in the UAE, and we were nominated to 2 awards under the Sustainability December 2022. So we were getting recognized from the beginning here and not in Lebanon. And I was like, okay, it's a direction that we have, but we're not ready to take yet. So end of 2022, we decided to pause. I went back and I took on a full-time job in Kuwait. Hala came to Dubai, and she actually has a full-time job here. And ever since 2024, beginning 2024, Paltic started to appear to me again. Random conversations, people coming back and asking, and they wanted workshops and giving speeches for students. And I was like, Hala, listen, Paltic is appearing, and I think maybe it's the right time, because even the UAE is shifting towards sustainability. They've embedded that thing in their community and private and public sectors. So maybe it's time. So I was like, you know what? I'm resigning again, and I'm just taking another leap. You stay. We will not do the same mistake. You stay in your job, and I will just resign. So I resigned, and I go back to Lebanon, April 2024, and we begin with the process again. The full process, the registration. I'm looking for a warehouse. I'm hiring a team. So it took a few months' time, and then war happened. And I was like, okay, so every single time that we wanted to move forward in our country, because this is something that we believed in, unfortunately, we came across a lot of obstacles. And like, I felt like at this moment, when that happened in September, I had to leave the country again because I was all on my own there. Like, my family lives abroad. And I was like, okay, so maybe this is a sign from God that I just need to let go and let's see how things will roll. So I left Lebanon back then, and Paltic was on pause again because, I mean, you can't operate it when war is happening. And then throughout these past 4 months, I came back to Dubai. So we were part of the TIE MENA competition because we won first in the rest of the Middle East. So we won this award, and then I was representing Lebanon again. We were part of GITEX, also 2024 under the sustainability part. And things just started to move here in Dubai for some reason, like having random conversations, people telling me, Nivine, like, you need to move to the UAE. And this idea started to pop up again with a certain direction. And then what actually happened with the different travels is I wake up December and I'm like, hello, we cannot lose anymore. We cannot risk it. We're just moving to the UAE. And she's like, are you serious? And I'm like, yeah. I go back to Lebanon. Paltic will be shipped in one container, and we will just take it from there one step at a time. So this is exactly what happened. I go back, Paltic is put in one container, and we're just waiting to kick it off here in Dubai in the next few months, hopefully.
Wow. Thanks for being very open about the journey, Nivine, because it's not easy. And I think through your own story, we realize that it's not easy to build a social enterprise in the region, and especially, in countries, like Lebanon, affected by wars, conflicts, and economic challenges. And it's, it's interesting because at the same time, you're like, it's sad to kind of leave, especially your country, and there is like a deep attachment to it. But, like reopening and starting from scratch, and you never know what's going to happen also as a next step. So it's very, very fascinating, and I think it shows to our audience how it's an ups and downs kind of journey building this type of venture.
Yeah, true. I mean, there is a lot of learning throughout the process, and other than the learning that you, from the business perspective, you grow on a personal level. Because for you to be able to take on all these challenges, you need to be mentally, emotionally, and physically equipped for that. So you have to be in the right mindset. And I can say from my experience, when we faced a lot of problems in Lebanon from 2020 up until 2023, I can say, and actually up until 2024, we were impacted a lot with whatever is happening in the country, that you're on survival mode, and you stop thinking like, what can I do with my business, because you're actually hindered with daily obstacles because of the situation. But once you reach this point where you're mentally capable of breaking things down and taking things from a different perspective, that okay, this is the situation, but this is what I'm going to do. These are the actions. This is the solution for that. And then it opens you to a whole new level of different perspective that you can actually see. And this is what social entrepreneurship is about. And I can say that because we're also coming from Lebanon, it built this resilience at some point that, no, I will make it happen. I will make it work no matter what, because I was also triggered when it came to October that I started to see the European market started to enter on the sustainability aspect. And I was like, no, this is not going to happen. Like, us Arabs, we do have the skills, we do have the mindset. Why have someone else take it over? And this is exactly where it started for me to start thinking that, no, we are capable. Things will open up as long as we're ready for it. And we just take it one step at a time, because before we were rushing. So you reach this point where we will build slowly, we will build gradually, and we will just see how things will move forward.
Yeah, it's very inspiring.
Thank you.
Because I'm sure it was not an easy decision, and I like how you took things step by step, and it was definitely not rushing and not giving up on your projects.
Exactly.
And that's the hardest part. So and we need solutions from the region, as you said, 100%. And you go where doors open. So if it's Dubai, I mean, welcome to Dubai.
Thank you.
We're super happy to have you.
Thank you.
And I'm sure you're going to be very, very successful.
Hopefully. Thank you.
Inshallah. I'm thinking like, how can we better support impact entrepreneurs? I'm a very strong supporter myself of impact entrepreneurs. That's why also, I started this podcast. And I'm thinking how we can, improve the ecosystem in the region to really support them, because it's not an easy journey. It's very challenging. And I think it's very clear from our conversation. So what can we do more of to support them?
I guess the first point would be the connections. So you're able to connect us with one partner who would really take it the whole way of implementing a certain project, this would be ideal, like as an amazing first step. This is one thing. The other thing, I realized that it's very helpful when we build this community of impact entrepreneurs, because I barely know a few myself who are impact driven, because now in this world, and especially in our region, it's catching up when we talk about AI and fintech and all the technological aspect, and this social impact part is losing its focus. So if we can create a community where we have different startups and different enterprises who really focus on that, and we're able to support one another through our journey, it would be ideal. Because even for me, when I go back to, I try to find someone who's doing something similar, just to take some advice from them. I find it still hard to approach, because they wouldn't be too open to share. But for us, because it's been a learning and we've been facing a lot of challenges, whoever comes to us, we're open to sharing. So I guess it would be ideal to change this mindset about competition when it comes to social enterprises, and rather have it built more as a communal power. Because after all, we're all specialized, let's say, in agriculture, wastewater treatment, recycling, plastics. We all have our own visions, but together we're able to do something more. So this is another part. And the third part would be investors. Because we've been self-funded.
And ideally, impact investors.
Yeah, exactly. Because we've been self-funded for the past 4 years, and it's time and effort that we're putting into it. So it's been very hard. And when I was reading an article a few months back, it said women entrepreneurs worldwide only get 2 to 3%, imagine, of investment worldwide. So if we're looking and dissecting it more towards social enterprises, and then towards our region, you see it shrink even further. So that's another thing that we would appreciate, is to have or be linked to impact investors who would be actually interested, not VCs or investors who just want it for the sake of the ROI, fast track money, because for us, it's not driven this way.
Yeah, investors that understand that it's not only about financial returns, but it's also about impact.
Exactly.
Yeah, and we're at the very, very beginning of it in the region. So I do agree with all what you just said. We need this community, we need more investors, and we need more to support each other. So definitely. Last question to wrap up the episode, Nivine. What advice would you give to our listeners that are inspired and want to start a social enterprise in the region?
I would tell them, find your passion first, find your purpose in life. What are you here to serve for? And then things will roll easily. You need to have a lot of grit, patience. You should be a risk taker, that's for sure. You go all in, all the way. And it's just about learning. There is a lot of learning from all the different aspects. So they should be open to that and build the right community of friends and even network. Because when you're around people who will limit you, they will limit your mindset, they will limit your steps forward, because we've been criticized a lot throughout our journey, especially that we focus on industrial and manufacturing and recycling, and they're like, you're a woman, why are you in this field? And we're like, and what changed is that I'm like, no, us women can do it, and us Arab women can do it. So you just keep moving forward, you don't give up, you just stay focused and consistent, and things will happen, hopefully.
Amazing. Nivine, it's so inspiring, the journey that you had with Paltic. Thank you so much for being so open and honest on this episode. I think we got, a glimpse of what it takes to build a social enterprise in our region, and the fact that we need more of, people like yourself and your co-founder to build a more sustainable solutions for the region. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you again.
Thank you for tuning in until the end. So that's the end of our episode. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channels. We are on Instagram, on LinkedIn, but also to subscribe on YouTube and all the podcast platforms. And stay tuned for our upcoming episode.